Hello everyone, welcome to week 3 of Math 241 Online, an introduction to the calculator. So my thought is that I'd like to revise the syllabus just a little. Initially I had said we would do week 1 a tour, week 2 trying out some activities, which we did. Today, week 3, we're using the calculator, we're introduction, and then I was going to do an advanced, but I think it makes a little bit more sense to delve into the calculator here, then delve into the interactive geometry part. So we're going to skip week 4 here. Oops. We're going to skip week 4 here. We're going to move week 5 up to week 4. And then in week 6, we're going to talk more about making your own lessons. I gave a lesson just today in Desmos, and there was 11 teachers from the local middle and high school watching, and they were absolutely amazed at what Desmos can do. And so they said, you know, we were never taught how to make lessons. We only know how to use the lessons that are already in the syllabus. So I'd like to focus more on making your own lessons, and then they'll be due on the last week and we can look at each other's lessons rather than doing the advanced calculator. So that's what we're going to do, but for this week we are looking at the calculator, and next week we're going to look at geometry. So first in this little video, I'm going to discuss the results of the survey that you guys all took last week. And then I'm going to discuss a little bit of how I graded your activities, just so that I can demonstrate the teacher dashboard. Then there's 3 more videos, 2, 3, and 4 here, where I've already made talking about how to use the calculator. So, and I'll explain what the scavenger hunt is in a second. And then there's 2 assignments. Assignment number 5 is to hand in the selected scavenger hunt activities in one file with separate folders. I'll show you what I mean by that. And assignment, well, there should be assignment number 6. It is number 13 of the scavenger hunt, which is an art project. And towards the end of this little video, I'm going to show you some examples of just amazing art projects that people do. All right. So here's the results from our survey. The question was, what one is your favorite? Which of the 5 was your favorite? And so the one with the smallest average is the most favorite, which was Waterline. And you can see Graphing Stories came in close second. Match My Line, Marble Slides, and then Card Sort was the least favorite for most people. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about some of the interesting comments that people had. So I first asked you, how did you define favorite? Some people talked about whether the activity was engaging. Just did it catch your interest? Others talked about the learning opportunity. So it might or might not have been engaging, but there was some good math that you could learn from it. A third group talked really about getting the task accomplished. I think this might be too hard. My kids might not be able to do it, or I felt this was tedious, along those lines. And then the fourth was an affective component. How did you feel while you were doing the activities? So in terms of engaging, these are just some of the quotes I thought were really interesting. As a teacher, I would definitely use the Waterline activity because it's not too difficult, so it would help students that might have been confused initially get a better grasp on the concept. It's engaging because the students get to create their own glass and graph other students' glasses. So, I mean, I love this comment for a lot of reasons. Obviously, for one thing, the person went all the way through and really actually made another glass. The other thing that's interesting is that it talks about the idea of the low floor, high ceiling, which I think is really important when you're making activities. Is you want to be able to get the kids engaged at some level, but you want to challenge those who are really more advanced. Another one said that I liked the Waterline activity. It's an easy way of showing different speeds and velocity, and it can easily be made into a lesson about derivatives afterwards. Love that idea. So yeah, it's taking the idea to the next level. Again, the low floor, high ceiling. Now, the third one says, I believe activities like the marble slides and the Waterline would really have my students engaged in the learning process. So this idea of thinking about how your students are going to interact with the program and catch their attention is really important. Other people talk specifically about the learning opportunities. For example, in the marble slides, I got to play with the graph and see what worked and what didn't. It allowed me to understand what would happen if certain numbers change. This is really an interesting comment because it was not all people thought that way. Some people thought, oh, I'm just manipulating these numbers and I'm not paying attention to what happens to the graph. I just want to get it done. So kudos to this person and kudos to the other people who were being honest and said, nope, didn't work for me. This one says, I define favorite as the one I believed I learned the most from. And the one that had visuals that could easily be interpreted. I said match my line was my most favorite because I learned about some ways to represent lines that I did not know before, and the work I had done throughout the challenges easily explained how each graph worked. So again, these maybe it's not totally engaging, although it seems as though it was, but specifically focusing on the math. Again, here's the people who are talking more about getting it done or getting correct answers. I didn't like match my line because my answers weren't verified. I don't think that people, this one says graphing stories, I don't think my students would enjoy this one as much. You really had to concentrate and watch every single detail of the video. I did like how it gave you the correct version of the graph because otherwise the students are just graphing and not knowing if they're correct. So these are two different people, both really focusing on did I get the right answer. Now, what's interesting, I thought, is putting these two together because this person says you had to watch every single detail and that was too much. Another one said, I thought this was engaging because I felt like I really needed to watch the video a few times and felt challenged to match my graph with the answer it showed. It's a perfect activity for checking understanding. So you can think of it either way. Is it good that it's detailed, or is it bad that it's detailed? I think if you really want to focus on making sure that kids are noticing nuances, it's great that they have a lot of detail because the goal isn't to get the correct answer. It's to learn from each other and to learn from how can I always make this better. Again, this theme of easy, quick, getting it done. That's the same one. Here's an affective component. My rank order was based on how I felt during the activities. I really liked some, while others I felt were just not towards my interest. I really like the first activity or matching lines one since it's a puzzle trying to solve. So the idea of how you felt while you were doing it. This last one is I just wanted to bring to your attention. Someone wrote, the card sort is a common activity done in a variety of classrooms that can just as easily be done on paper than on a computer. It doesn't really use the technology aspect as well as the other four activities did. What's interesting about that is I just want to call your attention. As a very old and seasoned teacher, I can tell you that trying to cut up a whole bunch of cards is a real pain. Now, I've actually had to do it for Math 141, so sometimes there's 800 kids, and I'm running around trying to cut up 320 sets of cards. I will never do that again. So just want to keep in mind that yes, you can do it with paper and pencil, but it's a lot easier. And also you've got the teacher tracking component. So you can figure out, how many kids are falling behind, and it's just an easier way to set up the activity. All right. So as I said, there's going to be two assignments this week. The first one is going through a scavenger hunt that lists 10. I wanted to go back here a second, and I wanted to discuss my use of the teacher dashboard here. So on the teacher dashboard, you can see students' activities. So let's just take the Marble 241. I can click here on the class code. The first thing I'm going to do is, so these are, when you anonymize it, you end up with just looking at famous mathematicians, which is really nice. I use this in my demo today as well. So you can kind of go through and see, like this one, Karen, she did not do any of these slides here. She might have written down something on the prediction, but she didn't do a lot of these slides. So if this was you, I didn't give you full credit. On the other hand, look here at John Springer, right? This person has done everything. And an X means the marble slide didn't work, but it still means that they tried. A dot means that they looked at the slide. So I didn't care whether you got it right or wrong. But if you just went through and only did, like Marjorie Rice here, only did 3 slides, then I didn't give you full credit, because other people, I'm asking them to go through this and really experience what it feels like to be a student. And if you're kind of just blowing off the activity, then I didn't give you full credit.